Hey everybody, Michael here from Adventurous Real Estate Investors. I'm here with my good friend Marcus Long from A Long Legacy. Thank you for joining me today, Marcus.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually over here having a conversation with Marcus. We're having a nice little. He just hit 20 years in the Navy, so we're over here celebrating that. But we were having a conversation in his kitchen, and I kind of knew about this before. But one of the big things that Marcus focuses on is generational wealth and making sure that generational wealth gets carried on to the next generation and subsequent generations. Right? 70% of generational wealth is actually lost in the second generation, and another 90% is lost in the actual third generation. Which is very surprising. So it's very important that you're educating, your children to ensure that that generational wealth that you work so hard to build gets carried on to the next generation. So with that, I want Marcus to talk about one thing that he's doing to educate his children on how to properly handle money and then make sure that the money is protected and the wealth that he's built is protected in the next generation. So Marcus, I'm going to send a cue in the listeners here, the viewers, a little bit about it. So basically Marcus is renting out he sold his toaster and his microwave to his children, but I'm going to let him take it from here.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I mean, as you mentioned, like, I think in order to, when we pass on that legacy or that wealth and stuff to our children, like, in order to carry that on, we have to educate them on our vision and educate them on how to take care of that wealth, and otherwise it will go away and stuff. And so I think the earlier we can involve them and teach them those lessons, the better opportunity we have to do that. And so as Michael said, like, I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, so starting pretty young, but we sold them our daughter, 6-year-old daughter, our microwave, and our 3-year-old son our toaster. And so yeah, we literally made them go get their banks that are split up into save and invest, sharing, kind of charity and that kind of stuff, and then spending. And so we literally made them go get the banks and pull the money out of the bank and hand it over to us, so they could physically know that they were giving something up. And I shouldn't say we made them do that. We talked about the opportunity, like, hey, they've played like games like Cash Flow for Kids and things like that. And so we kind of talked about, like, when you get real estate and Cash Flow for Kids and how you get the cash flow, and I started to relate it to some of that. They know, like, I'm in real estate, and so I talked about relating it to that and said, if you guys want to do this, we can. But I wasn't going to force them into it either. But they were excited about the opportunity to do that. And so when they did, we asked them, like, hey, let's grab your banks, take the money out of the bank, hand it over to us, and now, like, that belongs to you, to go through that process.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I actually want to dive a little bit deeper about the bank, and we'll come back to the microwave and the toaster here in a second. But so you were teaching them, like, hey, this is a bank, like, and you're splitting up your what you're saving your money for. So you have it split up between investing money and then money for sharing or charity and things like that. Like, how did you get all that set up? Like, did you and how are they generating money to put in that bank?
Yeah, we kind of started that last year, probably about a year ago. So probably when they were like 5 and 2-ish, early COVID and stuff. And I wanted to do that before. And initially when we bought it, like, I literally just went on Amazon and bought a bank that was, like, split up into those 3. So they do have accounts, actual bank, electronic bank accounts as well. But so that they could kind of see the physical money and where they're putting it and things. I got, just went on Amazon. I got a bank that's split up into, and it says save, spend, and share. And save, like, I wanted to, there are some that are split up into 4, and invest. I actually, like, masking tape and wrote invest as well, save and invest. So I wanted to talk about the difference in that a little bit, so that they started to kind of understand that. So I just went on, got banks for that. And last year during COVID, when we were home a lot and stuff, so sometimes when I was out doing yard work, we just talked about, like, if I was trimming the hedges or mowing the garden or things like that, if they were helping me, like, clean things up, I would offer them a little bit of, like, hey, if you want to do this, I'll pay you a certain amount of money. And there were some times they got excited about it, and one of them ran off and they got about half of the money that I offered, and the other one did all the work, so I gave them double or whatever. But we did a few things like that. And then we kind of talk about At this point in time, we haven't, dictated like you're going to put a certain amount in this, a certain amount in this. And we let them kind of choose, like, where do you want to put that? And it was kind of cool in some of those first few times where they chose to put it in like the share bucket or the save and invest. And like in reality, we haven't seen them put money in the spend one that often yet. So that's been kind of cool, and kind of feels like a lot of things like you talk about. It's kind of hitting home with them a little bit, even at a young age. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. So they earned all this money from doing tours around the house, and now they have this money in their physical bank account and an electronic bank account as well. But now you sold them a microwave and you sold them a toaster. How much was the toaster? How much did you sell that to them for?
Yeah, so the microwave, we use that probably more frequently than the toaster, and so we thought like probably the net operating income, if you will, was a little higher, probably a little higher value, and so we're over here in England, so we sold it to him to my daughter for £10, £10, and the toaster gets used a little less frequently, a little less income, so sold that for £5.
Yeah, that's really cool. So now that they have these assets, and the reason why I call them assets because they are generating cash flow for these kids, and so they have, a microwave and a toaster, and then tell me how you keep track of, or how do they keep track of, like how many uses they're going through, and like how is it per use, is it per day, and then also get into, I know you're tracking this on a spreadsheet and everything like that, get into like the expenses and utilities and things like that to make sure that everything is captured, not just pure income is generated from these assets, but also you have expenses that come along with it.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, as far as like tracking it, what we decided to do is, so I made like a little bit of a little chart. I shouldn't say I made it. Amy, my wife, made it for me. And so it's split up. We have like the month on there, all of the days, and then it's split up. There's a microwave side and a toaster side. And it's hung up, it's laminated, it's hung up behind where our microwave and toaster is. And there's a dry erase marker there, and so each day, if we use the microwave, we check the microwave box. If we use the toaster that day, we check the toaster box for the month, right? And so that way they get paid at the end of the month from us, and so that we're not paying like on a daily basis or something. But so we have that tracker behind there. It's kind of cool, they've got where they're like, now if they see us like using the microwave, they're like, hey, did you mark it? Like you used it, am I getting paid for that? Hey, you're eating toast, did you use the toaster? So it's kind of cool. So yeah, that's right there by our microwave and toaster where we keep track of that. And then at the end of the month, so we calculate that. It has like the number of days used. They get paid per use, the days per use. So like the microwave gets paid 10 pence. Kind of for our American friends, similar to 10 cents, and then the toaster being 5 pence per use. And so we calculate the number of days, and then multiply that by the times per use, and then that comes up with their income for that month. And yeah, so as you mentioned, we do have a spreadsheet on the computer, so we'll take that and transfer that income over to the spreadsheet. And then on the spreadsheet, yeah, I want to teach them from an early stage that it's like, it's not just you have this and it's purely income, right? There are expenses that go along with that, and so we try to simplify it and make it a little bit basic on there, but we do account for utilities, right? So there's a kind of a per use electricity use, so maybe they get paid 10 pence, for the use of the microwave, but they get charged 1 pence for the electricity for that use, type of thing. And then some of the other things like I tried to explain insurance and taxes to them in a very basic form, that they can kind of understand. And that some of that stuff's more on a monthly basis. So it might be a very minimal amount, 5 pence per month or whatever it is, but just enough so that they know that exists, right, and that is an expense. And as we discussed kind of earlier and stuff, like that, it's a lot, for a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old to kind of wrap their heads around. And so, we talked about all of it initially, and I understand that they don't really grasp all of those things on the first time, but they get excited about marking it daily and stuff like that. And then like the repetitiveness of like us going at the end of the month and each month trying to focus on, maybe it's the insurance, focus on like, this is what that means.
Yeah.
Time after time after time, I think those concepts will start to kind of take hold with them.
Yeah, that's really cool. Another thing too, and I want to ask this, I don't know if we discussed this yet or not, but like it took me like 30 plus years to understand that, hey, you buy an asset that generates cash flow, and then with that cash flow, you go out and you buy the things that you want to do. Like if you want to buy a car or go on a vacation, things like that, you use the cash flow from the asset to do that. Have you talked to your children about that? Like, hey, the income that these assets are generating, now you get to put that into what you want to spend. Have you talked to them about that yet?
Yeah, we've had some like basic, conversations about that. And I relate that to like, they see the stuff I'm doing with real estate sometimes and kind of talk about like, okay, we understand you're doing that to like make money. Like what is that money used for and stuff. And so I've had some like, early conversations about, and with that, like this cash flow becomes yours. And they, again, like we're not dictating what they, right now, like what percent you put that into spend, share, save, and invest type of stuff. We're trying to let them make some of those decisions and kind of see the choices they make, and then maybe we'll try to provide some rudder after that. But like, as we just started this recently, and so it'll be interesting, I think, as we do this on a monthly basis to kind of see the choices they make. And we have talked to them about like, you can put it in your spend bucket, and if you want to go get some clothes or a toy or whatever that might be, we can put some in the share bucket and give it to church, or we can find an organization that we want to donate to, or you can throw it in the save and invest. And if you get enough, maybe there's another household appliance, maybe they want to buy the refrigerator or something at some point in time. I don't know, and make a little bit more money and stuff. So we've had some early conversations around that, and I'm personally really interested also to kind of see how this plays out in the next few months as they start putting some of that money into the bank. Number one, to see like where they choose to put it and the conversations we have around that, and yes, to see where it goes from there.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. This is awesome. Yeah, there's just so many things, and there's you think about ways that you want to teach your kids, how to carry on the generational wealth that you created. And this is definitely a really cool way, a very innovative way that I've never heard of before. So I wanted to share that, with you guys, the viewers and the listeners here. And because I just think it's a really cool way to do it. And like Marcus says, like you can do it with kind of anything in the house, right? So like maybe you can rent out chairs or like, washing machine or something like that. Just really cool things. Additionally, Marcus mentioned that he's using the Cash Flow for Kids, which is like a board game I think was created by Robert Kiyosaki, right? And so that helps them understand, hey, you buy an asset, and then with that cash flow from that asset, then you go out and buy materialistic things with that. So Marcus, I have never actually played the game, and I've actually been very interested in playing it. I've heard a lot of great things about the Cash Flow for Kids. Like, how engaged are they with the Cash Flow for Kids?
Yeah, Layla, the 6-year-old, really likes it. Right? I think they both enjoy it. She, obviously being a little bit older, is starting to understand the concepts a little bit more. But it's it's fairly basic. From an adult looking at, it's fairly basic, or maybe not. There might be some adults that could learn something from it too, to be honest with you. But it's really, you're moving in a circular thing around the board, and there are opportunities. There are some paydays, a couple of paydays on the board. There are some places where you have an opportunity to buy an asset, and the assets, it's interesting because some of them, well, I'll say you have an opportunity to buy an asset, but when you look at the cards, some of them have a cash flow associated with them. Some of them you can buy but don't currently cash flow. And those assets they might be real estate, they might be some kind of business or intellectual property, things like that. And there's some places on the board where you have expenses, and some of those expenses you have an opportunity to pay now all up front and be done with it. Some of them, or you can take on a monthly payment to do it. And so it is kind of interesting to see. And the goal of the game, right, is to accumulate more assets that produce more cash flow than your monthly payments. And so even at 6 years old, our daughter, like, understands. It's interesting, and she's looking at the cards and she's like, oh, this one has $200 a month cash flow. I think I'll buy that. You know, and some of you might pay $1,000 for $200 a month. Others might be $800, you know, to buy the asset for $200 a month or something.
Yeah.
But she also knows, like, oh, I have an opportunity to buy an asset, but it doesn't cash flow. I don't want that.
Yeah.
You know, so she's starting to get that, and even on the expenses, if she has the opportunity to pay it now and be done with it, she will. You know, versus adding on another monthly payment, because she knows if she adds on more monthly payments, she needs more cash flow to overcome that. And so at 6 years old, it's amazing to see those concepts start to come into play, and pretty exciting to just kind of see what I may borrow money from her, you know, at some point in the future. So
yeah, that's really awesome. Man, Marcus, this is great. I'm glad we had this conversation. And if you're not taking notes, I definitely am. That's why I'm recording this video, so I can look back on it when Suzy and I end up, you know, are choosing to have kids later on. Definitely taking some notes from Marcus here. He's doing it right, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the whole asset plays out with the microwave and the toaster here in a couple months. Maybe we'll check back in with you guys. But Marcus, before we sign off here, would you mind sharing with the viewers like how they can get a hold of you, if you get your website and things like that?
Absolutely. The easiest way is to go to alonglegacy.com. You know, there's my you can shoot me an email off there. You can set up a call. All my social media is on there, so it's kind of a one-stop shop. And you know, please do reach out if you have questions about things that I'm doing, or if you have some cool innovative ways that you're doing with your kids and stuff. I'd love to hear about them too. You know, we might want to incorporate them as well. So I'd love to hear other people's feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if you have any ideas, drop those in the comments below. And I'll also make sure that in the description below, all of Marcus's information is there, so you can reach out to him and chat with him directly. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash the like button down there and subscribe to our video right here, or subscribe to our channel right here. All right, thanks everybody. Until next time, explore more, adventure awaits.